You're holding a coin right now that most people would spend without a second thought. It's copper-colored, light, ordinary, dated 2001. No mint mark. Nothing flashy. Nothing rare at first glance. And yet, what if that tiny detail, that absence of a letter beneath the date, was the difference between pocket change and a life-changing payday? Because somewhere in America, a single Lincoln cent has been whispered about in auction rooms and collector forums. A coin so pristine, so perfectly struck, so shockingly unique in its hidden characteristics that its value has been reported to soar into the hundreds of thousands, some even daring to speculate into the realm of seven figures. A 1-cent coin. Let that sink in. How does something so small become something so powerful? It starts with a misunderstanding. Most people think a missing mint mark is an error. In most cases, it isn't. For the year 2001, millions of Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark. They passed through hands, through cash registers, through soda machines. Invisible. Forgettable. But here's the twist. Within that ocean of ordinary coins are microscopic differences, subtle variations that only trained eyes, or the luckiest collectors, ever notice. Strike quality. Luster. Die state. Planchet anomalies. Doubled elements so faint they hide in plain sight until the light hits at just the right angle, and that's where the story turns. Because in the world of elite coin grading, perfection is everything. Not nice. Not shiny. Perfect. A flawless surface. A razor-sharp strike. Luster that looks like it was frozen in time the moment it left the press. A coin that has somehow survived more than 2 decades without a single distraction. What are the odds that one slipped into circulation? What are the odds it passed through a dozen hands, 100, 1,000, and never got scratched, never got dulled, never got noticed? And what if it's sitting in a jar in your kitchen right now? Collectors know that modern coins in absolute top condition are rarer than most 19th century issues. That sounds impossible. But think about it. In 1901, coins were saved. In 2001, they were spent. Tossed into cup holders. Dropped on sidewalks. Fed into parking meters.so when a 2001 Lincoln cent without a mint mark appears in a slab with an elite grade. When it achieves that near-mythical status at the top of the population reports, it stops being a penny. It becomes a headline. It becomes a bidding war. It becomes a moment where seasoned collectors lean forward in their chairs and ask the same question: how high will it go? And this is where the numbers start to sound unreal. Auction records have shown modern coins people once ignored, bringing staggering sums when they combine absolute condition rarity with collector demand. Reports have circulated of top-tier examples reaching into the hundreds of thousands, with one breathtaking figure, $844,000, echoing through the hobby like a thunderclap. For a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up. So what's really going on here? It's not just about the missing mint mark. It's about the hidden layers. The possibility of a transitional die. The chance of a dramatic off-center strike that somehow escaped destruction. The elusive double die that only reveals itself under magnification. The experimental planchet. The wrong metal error. The coin that shouldn't exist, but does. Every year, new discoveries are made in coins people thought were already fully understood. Every year, someone looks at a common date and sees something nobody else saw. And every year, ordinary people become the center of extraordinary stories because they took the time to look. Imagine the moment. You're at your table. A handful of change in front of you. You're not a millionaire. You're not a professional numismatist. You're just curious. You tilt a penny under a lamp, and suddenly the surface looks different. Sharper. Brighter. The details in Lincoln's coat stand out like they were carved yesterday. Your heart beats faster. Could this be one of them? You send it in for grading. Weeks pass. You check the tracking number more times than you want to admit. And then the email arrives. Top population. The finest known. In that instant, a coin worth 1 cent becomes a coin that could pay off a mortgage, fund a retirement, change a family's future. This isn't fantasy. This is the modern coin market, where condition and rarity collide in explosive ways. But here's the part most people miss, and it's the part that creates the opportunity. These coins are still out there. They're in bank rolls. They're in dresser drawers. They're in the change you get back from the grocery store. Because nobody told the public to look for them. Nobody made a movie about the 2001 cent. There was no nationwide recall. No dramatic announcement. Just silence. And in that silence, treasure hides. What separates the people who find these coins from the people who don't? Attention. Patience. The willingness to ask one simple question. What if this one is different? Because the truth is, the most valuable coins in modern history weren't discovered by experts in white gloves. They were found by people who were curious enough to check. So the next time you see a 2001 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, don't dismiss it. Turn it under the light. Look at the surfaces. Look at the strike. Look at the color. Ask yourself if it looks better than every other penny you've ever seen, because somewhere, one of these coins has already rewritten the rules. Somewhere, one has already turned a single cent into a six-figure legend. And somewhere, right now, another one is waiting to be noticed. This is the moment where the story becomes yours, not the collectors in the auction rooms, not the dealers behind glass cases. You, the jar of change on your shelf, is no longer just a jar. It's a field of possibilities. Every copper flash is a question. Every date is a door. How many times have you walked past it without looking? How many fortunes have slipped through your fingers because you didn't know what to watch for? And how would it feel to be the person who finally did? Because in the end, that's the real power of the 2001 no mint mark Lincoln cent. It's not just a coin. It's proof that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. That the next great discovery doesn't have to come from a vault. It can come from your pocket. So tonight, when the house is quiet and the world slows down, pour out your change under a bright light. Listen to the sound of the coins hitting the table. That's not noise. That's opportunity. Somewhere in that small pile could be the next headline, the next auction frenzy, the next story that makes people say, "I had one of those and spent it." Don't let that be your story, because the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing payday is often just a closer look. A single penny, dull, copper-colored, tossed into jars, forgotten in drawers, slipped between couch cushions. The kind of coin most people walk past on the sidewalk without a second glance. But what if one of those ordinary-looking cents, dated 2000, was secretly worth more than a luxury home, more than a retirement fund, more than most people earn in a lifetime? Because somewhere in America, a 2000 Lincoln cent with no mint mark has stunned collectors, with reported market values climbing into the hundreds of thousands, and in its most flawless form. Whispers of sales reaching as high as $844,000. Let that sink in. $844,000 for 1 cent. And here's the twist that makes this story impossible to ignore. Millions of these coins were released into everyday circulation, which means the next one could be sitting in your change right now. This isn't just a coin. It's a hidden opportunity. But before you rush to your piggy bank, there's something you need to understand. Not every 2000 penny is valuable. In fact, most are still worth exactly 1 cent. So why are a select few sending shockwaves through the numismatic world? The answer lies in the details most people never notice. The year 2000 marked the beginning of a new millennium, a symbolic moment for the United States Mint. Billions of Lincoln cents were struck to meet demand, churning out day and night. Philadelphia produced its share without a mint mark, just as it had for decades. To the untrained eye, they all looked the same. But collectors know better, because sometimes, in the relentless speed of mass production, the mint makes mistakes, tiny mistakes, microscopic anomalies, the kind that turn pocket change into life-changing money. Imagine this, a coin that appears completely normal until you tilt it under the light. Suddenly, you see doubling in the letters, a faint shadow on the date, a subtle shift in Lincoln's profile, the kind of error that shouldn't exist, but does. And when it does, the value can explode, dramatically double dies. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks that look like lightning frozen in copper. Even rare transitional errors tied to planchet anomalies. Each one tells a story of a moment when the machinery slipped and created a rarity. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Many of these coins were never pulled from circulation. They were spent. They were handed out in grocery stores. They were dropped into tip jars. They're still out there, which raises a question that's impossible to ignore. How many have already passed through your hands in pristine, untouched condition? What collectors call top population or perfect grade. The value of modern coins can skyrocket beyond anything most people think possible. Because perfection is rare. Almost impossibly rare. A coin that survives for decades without a single scratch, without a fingerprint, with its original blazing red luster intact, that's not just a coin. That's a time capsule. And when one of those perfect 2000 no-mint mark cents appears, certified at the highest level, the bidding can become fierce, competitive, emotional, because there are collectors with deep pockets chasing the best, always the best. And they don't care that it started as 1 cent, they care that it's the finest known example. That's how modern coins, yes, even ones you remember using for parking meters, have reached astonishing prices. But the story doesn't stop at condition. There are the hidden varieties. Subtle differences in the dies that struck them. Micro details that only reveal themselves under magnification. Features that most people would overlook forever, unless they knew exactly what to look for. And now you do. Think about the psychology of it for a moment. For decades, people believed the real treasures were ancient, buried, locked away in museums. But what if the real treasure was hiding in plain sight, in your change.in, your car's cup holder.in, that old coffee can in the garage? This is why coin collecting has exploded among everyday Americans, especially those who grew up handling cash, counting pennies, rolling coins for the bank. Because it turns an ordinary habit into a treasure hunt, and treasure hunts are addictive. Because the next coin you check could be the one with the doubling, the one with a flawless surface, the one that sends your heart racing, the one that changes everything. Picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table late at night. A small desk lamp, a magnifying glass, a pile of pennies. At first, it feels like nothing, just copper circles. Then you see it, something different. The date looks unusual, the lettering isn't quite right, your pulse quickens. Could this be it? That moment, that electric, breath-holding moment, is what collectors live for. Because it's real. It happens. Regular people, not dealers, not experts, have pulled extraordinary coins from ordinary change and sold them for amounts that paid off debt, funded college, bought homes, changed lives, all from a coin most people would spend without thinking. So why hasn't everyone heard about this? Because the world is distracted. Because we stopped looking at our money. Because we assumed there was nothing left to find. But the truth is, the hunt has never been more alive. And the 2000 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is one of those sleeper coins. Modern enough to be overlooked, old enough to have developed condition rarities, and common enough that it could still be anywhere, right now. In your house, waiting. The difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars comes down to knowledge, patience, and attention to detail. Not luck, not connections, not wealth, just the willingness to look closer than everyone else. And here's the final revelation. The real power of this story isn't just about one coin. It's about what it represents. Opportunity hiding in plain sight. The idea that something small, something ordinary, something you already have, could carry extraordinary value. That's why people across the country are opening jars, searching rolls, checking every date, every surface, every mint mark, or the absence of one. Because the next great discovery isn't locked in a vault. It's in circulation, and the only question that matters now is this: will you be the person who finds it, or the person who spends it? Tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss your change aside. Look at it. Turn each coin under the light. Check the date. Study the details. Because somewhere in that small pile of copper could be a 2000 Lincoln cent that's anything but ordinary. And if it is, your life might never look the same again. It starts with a coin you've probably seen 1,000 times. A copper-colored Lincoln cent, dated 2006, hiding in plain sight in pocket change, coin jars, and the bottoms of dresser drawers across America. Nothing flashy. Nothing rare, at least, that's what most people believe. But what if one of those ordinary pennies was secretly worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, more than an entire retirement fund? Because somewhere out there, a 2006 Lincoln cent with no mint mark has been whispered about in collector circles for its astonishing value in top condition, figures that have reached as high as $844,000. And the most shocking part? It looks almost exactly like the one you might have spent on a cup of coffee this morning. How many fortunes have slipped through our fingers without us even noticing? This is not just a story about a coin. It's a story about overlooked treasure, about microscopic details that separate 1 cent from a life-changing payday, and about the quiet thrill of knowing that the next coin you pick up could alter your future forever. Because in the world of rare coins, it's never about face value. It's about what everyone else misses. The 2006 Lincoln cent was produced in massive numbers. Billions were struck. Most were minted in Philadelphia and Denver, with the Philadelphia coins carrying no mint mark at all. To the average person, that absence means nothing. To a collector, it's the beginning of a mystery. Why? Because within those billions of coins are a handful that were struck with extraordinary precision, flawless surfaces, razor-sharp details, and in some cases, hidden minting anomalies that transform an everyday penny into a trophy piece. And the market for perfection is ruthless. In the highest grades, coins that have never been touched by circulation, never dulled by time, never scratched by the chaos of commerce, the value doesn't climb, it explodes. We're talking about coins graded at the absolute top of the scale, where only a tiny fraction survive. Coins that look as if they were struck yesterday. Coins that make seasoned collectors lean forward and whisper, because perfection is rare, and rarity creates demand. But here's where the story takes a turn. It's not just about condition. Some of these 2006 no mint mark cents have surfaced with subtle errors, nearly invisible to the untrained eye. Slight misalignments, die variations, unusual surface characteristics, details so small you need magnification to see them, yet powerful enough to multiply the value by thousands. Imagine holding a penny that looks normal, until you tilt it under a light and notice something just slightly off. A letter that isn't quite where it should be. A surface that gleams differently. A strike so sharp it feels almost unreal. What if that tiny detail was the difference between 1 cent and a six-figure windfall? That's the tension that keeps collectors awake at night. Because the truth is, most valuable coins aren't discovered in auctions or museums. They're found in ordinary places. In rolls from the bank. In inherited collections. In change from a gas station. And every time someone finds one, the same thought hits like lightning. How many more are still out there? The reported sales tell a story that sounds almost impossible. High-grade examples of modern Lincoln cents have stunned the market, reaching prices that defy logic. When a pristine 2006 no mint mark cent achieves elite certification, when it earns the kind of grade that only a microscopic fraction of coins ever receive, it enters a different universe. Collectors don't see a penny anymore. They see the finest known. They see a registry set centerpiece. They see a coin that no one else has in that condition, and they compete for it. Because in the rare coin world, the best isn't just valuable, it's legendary. And legends command astonishing prices. So let's pause for a moment and ask the question that changes everything. What if one of those coins is sitting in your home right now, not in a safe, not in a display case, but in a jar, in a drawer, in a roll of pennies you haven't opened in years? How many times have you walked past it without knowing? This is where the story becomes personal. Because the difference between an ordinary 2006 penny and an extraordinary one isn't obvious at a glance. It's in the luster, the way the light dances across the surface. It's in the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait. It's in the untouched fields that look like liquid copper. And once you know what to look for, you can't unsee it. Suddenly, every coin becomes a possibility. Every handful of change becomes a treasure hunt. Every trip to the bank becomes an opportunity. That's the power of this coin. It transforms the mundane into the miraculous. But there's another twist. Time is not on your side. Every year, more of these coins are scratched, dulled, and lost to circulation. The number of perfect survivors doesn't grow, it shrinks. Which means the finest examples become more desirable, more competitive, more valuable. And the people who recognize them first are the ones who win. So why are collectors so obsessed with a modern penny? Because it represents something bigger than metal and minting. It represents the idea that wealth can still be discovered, not inherited, not won in a lottery, discovered, quietly, patiently, by someone who was paying attention when everyone else wasn't. And that's why stories of six-figure and even higher sales spread like wildfire through the collecting community. They're not just about money. They're about possibility. They're about the moment someone realizes the coin in their hand is special, the moment their heart starts racing, the moment they understand that a lifetime of searching has paid off. So here's the real question. What are you going to do the next time you see a 2006 Lincoln cent with no mint mark? Will you spend it without a second thought? Or will you stop, turn it under the light, and look closer than you ever have before? Because history has already shown that the smallest details can carry the biggest rewards. Somewhere in America, someone is holding one of these coins right now and doesn't know it yet. Somewhere, a penny is waiting to be recognized. And the next great discovery doesn't have to happen in a professional grading room or an auction house. It can happen at your kitchen table. It can happen tonight. That's the thrill. That's the urgency. That's the reason collectors keep searching long after everyone else has stopped. Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often just a closer look. And once you understand that, you'll never see your pocket change the same way again. So check the jars. Open the rolls. Look at every 2006 cent as if it might be the one. Because one day, one person will find a coin that everyone else ignored. A flawless survivor. A tiny copper time capsule. And they will watch it climb from 1 cent to a staggering, life-changing number. The only question is, will it be you?